Hello and welcome to your very first math lesson. For today's lesson, you will need your math notebook, bedmas foldable, which you get from me, scissors, glue, scrap paper, and a pen. If you don't have those things, pause right now and go find them. So today we're going to be learning about bedmas. And bedmas is when you get a really long equation, you need to know which parts to do first, second, third. I'm sure you guys have seen this before. Traditionally, bedmas is written sideways, which I'll write on the screen. So B-E-D-M-A-S. Pardon my bad writing. I'm writing on the computer, so it looks a little weird. But what I want you guys to know is that we need to learn bedmas this way. B comes first, then E, D and M go together, because they're at the same time, and A and S go together because they're at the same time. So before we go any further, I want you to take the hopscotch part of your bedmas foldable and cut it out, and you're going to write bedmas on it just like you see on the screen so that it looks like mine here. The color really doesn't matter, I just like it to be pretty. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you really quickly what the different parts mean, and you can write them under the letters. So B is for brackets, E is for exponents, which you've never done, and I would tell you not to worry about right now, you just need to know the word. D and M are for divide and multiply, you start from the left and go to the right. A and S are for add and subtract. Brackets is the first one. And brackets can look different depending on who your teachers are, who your textbook is, written by, all of those things change your brackets. So these are a couple different kinds of brackets. And before we move on, now you need to cut out the second part of your foldable. And you're going to cut it out so that it's like this, and then you're going to cut along these lines so that you can fold it and fold the flaps out. Because eventually yours is going to look like mine. When you have that, write brackets on it, open it, and write the different kinds of examples of brackets just like I have. So when you've done that, we're going to move on. We're going to look at this example here. So reading it from left to right, you always start on the left. 3 plus 9 is in brackets, so we start with that. 3 plus 9 is 12. Between these two brackets there's nothing, so we know it's got to be a times. And then we have 16 divided by 8. Well, 16 divided by 8 is 2. Well, now it looks much simpler, doesn't it? 12 times 2 is 24. And it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. So we're going to move on to the next example, and that's exponents. If you don't know, exponents are these little numbers up top here. When you say an exponent, for this I would say 3 times 2 to the power of 2. 4 times 3 to the power of 3. 2 to the power of 3 times 3 to the power of 2. To the power of just means how many times you're going to multiply it. So 3 times 2 to the power of 2 really just means 2 times 2. That's all that means. So, on your next flap on your book, you're going to write the word exponents, and then when you open it up, you're going to write 2 to the power of 2 equals 2 times 2, and 2 to the power of 3 equals 3 times 3. I'll write it here on the board. So again, I apologize for my writing, I'm just learning how to write with a mouse. So as you can see both on the board and in my example, on the left-hand side you have brackets and exponents, and they fold out to give you the different kinds of brackets and a couple examples of exponents. If you don't understand exponents, don't spend a lot of time on it. We have a whole month to work on it later in the year. Again, you just need to know the word. So moving on, the next two letters are D and M, which stands for divide and multiply. I really don't feel like I need to explain what divide and multiply mean, at least I hope I don't. The important part you need to get out of this is that between divide and multiply, not one of them comes first. So you start at the left and work your way right. So for example, in this first question, I start at my left, 3 times 8 divided by 2 times 4. They're all divide and multiply, so they're all done at the same time, so I just start with the first one. So 3 times 8 is 24, you start with that, and then you write the rest of the question so I can figure out which step goes next. Divided by 2 times 4. Sorry, little smiley man. So, the next part is going to be divided by, because it's next and left to right. So 24 divided by 2, well, that's 12. And then I still have my times 4. Well, there's only one step left, so it's no mystery what I have to do next. 12 times 4 is 48. And I know I'm done because I've put my little equals sign. For the divide and multiply example, you write divide and multiply, and then you write this exact example that we just wrote down, you write it on the left-hand side. Okay, so do that and pause until you're done. Moving on, we have addition and subtraction. I wrote add and subtract on my foldable. Again, I don't really feel like I need to explain add and subtract, but this is what happens after you've done brackets, exponents, division, and multiplication. So, looking at this, are there any brackets? Well, no. Are there any exponents? No. What about division and multiplication? Well, there is, because there's 5 times 3. So that's the part we have to do first. So everything else stays the same while we do that first part. So 6 plus 12 minus 5 times 3, well, that's 15, minus 2. Okay, are there any other divide and multiply? No, so we move on to add and subtract. Well, that's all of them, so we start at the left to right. 6 plus 12, 18. We can only do one step a line, because that's one of the weird rules of math, so you get really good. So, next, 18 subtract 15. Well, 15, 16, 17, 18, that's 3. And then we have minus 2. Now there's only the one step left, so we know where we're going here. 3 minus 2 equals 1. And just like divide and multiply, I want you to write this example on the left-hand side when you fold the book out. So I'm going to fold mine out so you can see all of my examples. Hopefully yours looks somewhere as pretty as mine. Okay, when you've got this far, you're going to glue your hopscotch and your foldable on your page with the title Order of Operations, and then you're going to write the equation you see on the board on top of the outfoldable. And we're going to go through each step. So when you open your brackets, you should see the answer to the bracket step. So let's go through that on the board. Well, 2 isn't in brackets, so it doesn't change. So we have 2 times, because there's nothing, 1 plus 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. So the power of 2 stays the same, plus 4, because that also stays the same. This is what you're going to see on the right-hand side when you fold out brackets. Next, we deal with the exponents. So this is our E. Okay, 2 has no exponent, so it stays the same, times 4 to the power of 2, which means 4 times 4. Well, 4 times 4 is 16, plus 4. Next, we move on to our add and subtract, or sorry, multiply and divide. So multiply and divide. Well, the only multiply and divide we have in this one is 2 times 16. 2 times 16 is 32. We still have our plus 4, but that doesn't change because it's not a multiply and divide. Then we move on to the last one, which is add and subtract. Our add and subtract is 32 plus 4, which equals, it's very important to write equals, 36. So, when I look at my foldable, I fold the first bracket out and I get the first line. and then pull this out to get the 7, and then divide, and then add and subtract. I know this isn't the best visual, I'm doing my best. So, you have a couple of options now. You need to practice this because it is very, very important. You can either go to Mathletics and practice, or you can practice the skills worksheet I gave you, and it's these questions. So if you're going to do the skill drill, I want you to pause the video right now, and you can come back when you have your answers. It's really important for you to practice this because you need to figure them out yourself. When you come back, I'll show you the answers. Okay, so hopefully you've done the skill drill, and I'm going to pull them over and show you the answers, and you can mark yourself out of 10. So good luck. This was your first video, and if you have any questions, you know where to find me.